Some weeks ago, the wrestling world lost one of its all-time legends, one of the best big men to ever set foot in the ring. The man called Vader.
It's Vader time!
Getting his start in the AWA back in 1985, Leon White would captivate audiences with his combination of size, strength, and remarkable agility. The former NFL center soon went to Japan and by the end of 1991 became a three-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion, making Vader the first Gaijin to ever hold the gold. His run in Japan was so dominant, WCW had no choice but to scoop him up in the early 90s and eventually make him their world champion as well. This rough, tough, legitimate badass would later make his way to the WWF, where any possible success was pulled out from under him due to the backstage politics of the clique. But even if his last mainstream run was disappointing, it couldn't discount the illustrious career he'd built for himself, nor was it enough to diminish his legend that grew and grew right up until his death at the age of 63. So upon hearing the news of Big Van Vader, how did I choose to honor his memory? Did I fire up my computer and watch some of his classics with guys like Sting, or Cactus Jack, or Ricky Chosu? No, I sat around and watched some old Baywatch. Yes, Baywatch, that piece of American television history, one of the all-time juggernauts of syndication. The series that made Pamela Anderson a household name and turned boys into men. The show that affirmed our collective love of David Hasselhoff. Baywatch was such a hit, America thought that showrunner Michael Burke could do no wrong. Until he did, then again, several years later. So what does Baywatch have to do with Vader? Well, to answer that, may I present Bash at the Beach, Season 6, Episode 15, which first aired on February 19, 1996. Just months before Hulk Hogan would shock the world and become the third man, he led an all-star cast of WCW wrestlers in a special appearance on the TV show. And yes, that included the Mastodon.
Come on, Vader!
What's particularly fascinating about Vader's appearance on this show is by the time it aired, he was long gone from WCW, having left the company by the fall of 1995. In February of 96, he was in the WWF, part of the build for a six-man tag match at WrestleMania 12. That means in the early months of the Monday Night War, Baywatch was technically hosting an interpromotional crossover extravaganza. And yet somehow less disappointing than what we wound up getting in 2001. The show begins with a friendly jet ski race between Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Clearly the Hulksters moved on from Trigger.
Hey dude, you cut me off! To be ya!
I just love the way Macho says that line. Let's hear it again.
To be ya!
Hogan forgets he's in the middle of something and stops dead in his tracks to ogle a hot lady, complete with creepy noises.
Wow. Oh.
Ugh. But then he snaps out of it and resumes the race. He hits a wave which causes him to go flying off of his ride, then recreate what happened to him the day before WrestleMania 9. Caroline and CJ both go to rescue an unconscious Hogan and carry him out of the water. That jet ski must be a light worker, not a bruise on the guy.
1 and 2 and 3.
Okay, be honest, who else here thought he was going to Hulk up?
Oh my god, it's Hulk Hogan!
Were you not able to tell before he woke up? Oh gosh, with his eyes closed, I had no idea. I thought he was Sean Penn. And because this features Hulk Hogan as himself, get ready for a lot of people marking out over him in the background.
Oh my god, it's Hulk Hogan! It's Hulk Hogan!
Mommy, I just saw Hulk Hogan.
Matthew, what if I told you about making up stories?
But Mom!
Can it, Matthew?
Creative control, brother. The Macho Man pulls up to shore, completely oblivious to the fact that his friend, surrounded by lifeguards, nearly died during their friendly competition.
Hey Hulkster, what's the deal, brother? Talk to me. It's not like you to leave me hanging and just checking out the babes and just leaving me out there.
It's here I see for the first time that Mach is actually wearing swim trunks in the style of his gimmick. Gotta love the commitment. Well, I guess it's time to focus on the regular characters from this show. Here we see Stephanie Holden on a romantic date with her boyfriend Tom, a doctor who went to lifeguard school with Mitch. Tom discovers a mole on the back of Stephanie's leg and urges her to get it checked out.
You know something? I want you in my office tomorrow morning, first thing. And I mean it.
Oh boy, here we go. Looks like we've stumbled upon a very special episode about skin cancer and the dangers of excessive tanning. Wow. Back to these normal-looking guys. We find our guest stars at the Venice Boys Youth Center, where Hogan spent a lot of his childhood, and Savage too, apparently.
When I was a kid, you and this place saved my rear end.
I have no idea what would have happened to us without this place, but it's not a pretty picture, Oster.
Yeah, Hogan, I've been part of your life all along. Ooh, yeah. But the center and its youths are in trouble. The owner of the property, Sonny, is unable to make ends meet and is selling the land to a mystery buyer who wants to shut the place down. And who's buying up this property at the same time Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage are around? Why, Nature Boy Ric Flair, of course. You were expecting Vern Gagne?
Soon, this'll all be condos! It'll all be mine! Woo!
Well, sure, it's better you build that on the property than a doomsday cage. Flair is definitely playing out the stereotypical evil landowner here, reveling in the sadness of children. It's too bad he didn't have a mustache to twirl as he cackled with glee. Ric Flair with a mustache. That would have gotten over. But the Hulkster issues a challenge to Flair in an effort to save the youth center.
A fight, one-on-one, no holds barred, winner take all. All this property, Flair.
Well, sure, you could wrestle Flair for the deed, but why not think outside the box and try and raise money for the kids by working at a hospital, or throwing pies, or eating soup? Hogan offers up the WCW Championship as collateral, and Flair accepts on behalf of himself and Vader. This right here should have been one of the first signs to us common folk that perhaps Flair shouldn't be trusted with major financial decisions.
Hogan, you did me, brother! Come on, Vader!
Boy, Vader sure was lucky he was picking on that basketball there. After all, they are not known for holding grudges.
Basketballs don't hold grudges. And you're not going to be in the ring with a basketball at SummerSlam!
Back in the B plot, and yes, I'm aware this is probably the A plot of the episode, but hey, when WCW's involved, the main cast takes a back seat, Jack. Stephanie gets a biopsy for her mole. Her former boyfriend, Mitch, asks Tom over so they can discuss things before the results come in.
Mitch, I can't talk about Stephanie. You know, doctor-patient confidentiality applies no matter what. But there are rules in medicine.
Isn't it a basic rule that you don't treat someone that you're emotionally involved with or possibly in love with?
No? Meanwhile, Stephanie's become deeply paranoid about the sun and skincare. She's even going crazy and stops everyone on the beach to tell them about sunblock.
Are you using sunblock? You should be putting some on. Sunblock? Okay, and keep reapplying frequently, okay? Especially as you sweat it when you go in the water.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you have sunblock on?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hey, sister, I've been there.
Excuse me, sir. Did you know that Five Guys is better than In-N-Out? Oh, you do now. You do now. All right. Excuse me. Five Guys, way better than In-N-Out. What? Yeah, okay, it's a little more expensive, but it's still better. It melts in your mouth, people!
But I mean, come on, it's an episodic TV show. There's no way this is anything more than a health scare, right? I mean, something they drum up big in the promotion for the show and then never brought up again?
It's melanoma, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Wow, that's certainly a downer. How are we going to rebound from this?
For the boys club! For the boys! Oh, yeah!
Hey, now you're talking! We get what amounts to a full-length music video for Hogan's WCW theme featuring our hero running and pumping, and that's about it. Hulk, you sure we couldn't have just taken the bus? It's 95 degrees out here. So while Mitch and Stephanie have an emotional scene and CJ, Cody, and the rest of the gang are with Hogan and Savage, who the hell's watching the beach? In a moment of art imitating life, WCW bends itself to Hulk Hogan's will, as the company has set up an entire show on the beach in response to the champ's spur-of-the-moment challenge to Flair. In reality, this footage was shot during Bash at the Beach 1995, which actually took place on the sands of Huntington Beach, California. The matches between Flair and Savage, and then Hogan and Vader, were the final two matches of the pay-per-view, but were the only ones used for the TV show. Well, this certainly explains how Vader showed up in a WCW episode after leaving the company. They shot it more than half the year before it aired.
Now, from the WCW Galaxy of Superstars!
Oh, forget the WWE Universe. The WCW Galaxy sounds way cooler. The matches themselves feature a lot of choppy editing, splicing in real match footage with close-ups they shot separately. And let's not forget, a whole lot of sound effects that were clearly added in post. In a lifeguard match with some small wrestler cameos, Savage defeats Ric Flair. Then in the main event, Hogan and Vader are in the Slim Jim cage. Seems odd for Hogan to be the one there, isn't it?
Not the cage!
Oh, yeah!
After a body slam and a big boot, we get a quick cutaway and Hogan has suddenly won the match. I guess the people in charge of the show thought 3 counts were boring because neither of the matches actually show them. But in any case, Hogan and Savage are 2 for 2, Flair loses the deed to the youth center, and the money raised from the event goes to Sonny. Hi, Dennis Rodman. Man, what a great way to wrap up that storyline. Way to end this episode on a high note.
Has it spread?
Yes.
Well, at least Tom is just nailing his lines.
It's melanoma, isn't it?
Yes.
Has it spread?
Yes.
So the episode ends with a bad prognosis for Stephanie. But don't worry, because she wouldn't die from skin cancer. She would die after being crushed by a falling mast in a lightning storm in season 7. Baywatch! So there you have it, the time WCW wrestlers invaded an episode of Baywatch. In a show that had a surprisingly wide range of conflicts over the years, this one seems pretty tame. All the wrestlers involved played their roles perfectly. Well, almost all of them. Kevin Sullivan hardly had any dialogue and was pretty useless in the episode, even though he was hard to ignore as Flair's toady. WCW had a lot of advantages early on during the Monday Night Wars, including who got to guest star on Baywatch first. Shawn Michaels guest starred on an episode the following season, but his role was way smaller than that of Hogan's or Savage's. Not only that, 90% of the main cast wasn't even there for it. What a rip! The timing of when this aired is fortunate since it took place before Hogan's heel turn, but for an episode centered around the July pay-per-view, it's too bad it aired all the way back in February. Think of how things could have gone if the episode aired a little later. You could have incorporated it into the heel turn.
For 2 years, I held my head high. I did everything for Sonny. I did everything for the boys club. And the reception I got when I came out here, you fans can stick it, brother.
Between Baywatch and his appearances on Boy Meets World as Frankie Stechino's father, Vader's memorable moments on television help add to his legendary status. At least this show is a better use of Vader on the beach than him walking off a landing craft with Sid Vicious. Though he has now sadly passed away, these memories of the Mastodon will live on, both in the ring and on the small screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, comment below, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.
I see